You love a Victorian Christmas. I've got lots of inspiration for you right here. I'm Brandy, and this is Making It My Own DIYs. Welcome. This is a compilation video, so any giveaways mentioned are closed. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy! The first project will be a millwork hanger. I'm going to use some chalkboard paint in black, some nickel satin finish nickel Rust-Oleum spray paint, a chippy brush, a silver ribbon, and one of them is blue, and I'm going to switch it to a velvet ribbon. And then this one is beautiful leaves. It's like leaves on a vine. Then this sparkly ribbon that is silver. 3 different sizes. Here's the millwork that I got at the thrift store. Beautiful piece, got a little damage, but that's not going to be a problem for this project. You know, these go underneath the light fixtures. So I'm going to take this outside and spray it after, of course, I have wiped it and got it nice and clean. Once it is covered with 2 coats of that nickel paint, look how beautiful this is. So pretty. I'm going to bring it inside, and I'm going to start distressing this. The idea is to take this from looking like a resin or plastic piece, or possibly plaster if that's what they were going for, and to make this more of a metal looking piece. So I am going to do that by using my black. Now I've dipped it into the black and tapped most of it off, so this is an actual dry brushing technique. I'm not just like smearing it all over. This is actually how you dry brush. So I'm going to go back and forth and up and down over all the beautiful detailed pieces so that it will get that darker color down in all of those high spots and give us some shadowing and just really make this look more of a metal piece. I work with a little bit at a time, and then I build up as I go if I choose to do it that way. If you've been here a while, you already know I start off with a light hand, and then I just layer that up until I get the look that I like. It's a lot harder to take it off once you put too much on. So I'm going to speed it up, but I don't want to take it out because I want you to see how much time it actually takes to do this if you do it correctly. It is sped up, like I said, but I'm just taking manageable small sections here and just working my way around. Now you can see the difference already. The lower right section is not distressed and the rest of it is, and you see the difference? Really takes that shine down a bit and makes this more of a metal looking piece or an iron looking piece, and I love the look of this. I am so glad. I have had this in my stash for a while, and I'm trying to work through my thrifted pieces, and what better time than Christmas to do this. Alright, so once I get the outside pretty much like I like it, I want to make this look even more kind of recessed. So I'm going in that inner curve there in that flat piece and then dragging that paint back upward over the edges, and it just makes it look like it is actually thicker than it is. Ugh, gorgeousness. I absolutely love this, and when I go back to the thrift store, it's been a few months, but when I go back, I'm definitely going to be picking up every one of these I see, because I could just see this for every season hanging on a door. Just beautiful. Or maybe even above a fireplace would be pretty. I don't know, where would you put yours? This is a stunner, y'all. I love this. I love paint. I love it so much. Alright, so I switched from the other ribbon that I had to this one because I thought the velvet would just be prettier, and I like the look of it for Victorian pieces. So I am going to layer up my ribbons rather than using 3 individual separate pieces. And I have done this before. We're going to make one beautifully embellished ribbon out of 3 different pieces. And this is how we will do it. The widest ribbon will be on the bottom, then our next ribbon, and then we will put down the last thinnest trim or ribbon piece, whatever you want to call that, with the leaves on it. It's beautiful. I did not measure this. I just kind of eyeballed it. It's probably 12-14 inches. So now the pretty side of the ribbon is upward, and I'm just going to take a little stream of glue and go right down the middle of the thickest ribbon, so the bottom ribbon, and I will try to center this one on top, press it down, and then work in small sections, because if you get it crooked, you'll probably tear your ribbon when you try to pull them apart. So just take your time with this, and if you need to use a rubber spatula or something, use that. Or you definitely could be working with your cool temperature rather than the hot glue. And then I'll widen it up a little bit on the end so that the end stays nice and flat. And already look at the difference. That looks like a beautiful, beautiful, expensive ribbon. I want to make this look a little more aged. This silver is a bit too bright for me, so why not distress the ribbon, right? This is like a raised, textured ribbon. It's not sparkly. Well, it is sparkly, but it doesn't have glitter on it, is what I'm saying. It's a strange woven texture. But I'm going to go over it just with the black, and I'm just going to use a smaller brush this time because I'm working in a smaller section and I don't want to get it on my blue. So I'm just tapping it in, kind of smearing it around on top of that ribbon. And you can see the difference from the top to the bottom as I work along here. Again, in small sections so that I can duplicate anything that I'm doing. So this looks like it was intended to be this way. I'll use lighter, and then I'll go a little bit darker as I go, building up just like we did on the millwork piece. Now I'm going to glue this one down, and since it's so thin on the vine, I'm just going to take some little sections of where the leaves are and just put a tiny dot of glue underneath, and I just adjust it as I go. The tip of this little glue gun is so narrow and so thin, it works great for these types of projects. And this Sure Bonder that I have gotten, this last one I've gotten, has been really good. I'm happy with this one. Okay, same process as before. Tapping in, tapping off, and I'm going to go over that silver a little bit as well. I don't mind if it's a little bit shinier than the one that is underneath it because it's on the top and I don't want it to blend completely in. I want to be able to see it. So now it's got that aged look that I really like. Not a perfect match, but that's not what I'm going for here. So now you can see there's about 12 inches in the front, 12 inches in the back. So I guess that's a 24-inch piece of ribbon. Okay, so this is just a curtain ring. I am going to unscrew the hook part of it, and we're going to use it for the top. I'll take some of this brushed silver, and then I'm just going to kind of give this a light brushing over this ring. I don't have a smaller chippy brush, so I'm just using a regular brush here to do this. Get it all on there. I'm going to get it on the front and the back and on the inside of the ring as well. And I just do one coat and then I will let that dry. Very easy to do. You can still see the black under, so it gives it that nice aged look that's on the millwork. Once it is dry, we are ready to use it. So I'm just going to fold the back piece over the top piece. Doesn't matter, you can do the top over the back, it really doesn't matter. I'm going to add a line of glue and then just overlap about an inch, maybe anywhere from a half an inch to an inch on there. Press it down so it is glued down flat. And then once it's cooled, I'll turn it to the back so that you don't see where we connected it. And it's sitting behind the millwork and over that crack that was in there. Then I just decided, you know what, I've got this one little tiny piece of ribbon left. This came off of that roll from Dollar Tree, this blue velvet did. And I thought, okay, I'll just use this and we'll put one little bow right down here. Certainly skip this part if you don't like bows, but I think it gave it a little something extra, especially for the holidays. So, you know, Victorians did that anyway. They used every bit of what they had to make their homes beautiful. They used what they had. And they had a lot in those days, didn't they? They really did. This velvet is such a rich and beautiful look. I just love it with Victorian decor and vintage decor in general. It's just very pretty, very luxe looking. It's just such a simple little bow. We're not even going to have tails on it. And just flip those out because they are wired, they'll stay. Then I can trim off what we don't need, and then add a little hot glue to put this right here. And look at how beautiful this is. You can hang this off of a wreath hanger on your door. You can put it above your fireplace. You can hang it off of a doorknob if you wanted to. I mean, you know, if you just really want it. Come and see my videos on Mondays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's free to subscribe. I'll see you in the comments. The next project is our butterfly paper ornament. I've got a little wooden disc here and a beautiful little postcard with Santa. And then I found these thrifting. These are just some little doilies, and they're very vintagey looking to me. Here's the information, just in case you have something simpler or similar. Not simpler, good grief. Although, speaking of simple, you could use white doilies for this if you wanted to, or if you had gold doilies that are solid color, or, you know, whatever you wanted to do. I just loved the idea of having these beautiful, rich colors in a butterfly, right? And I started off to do this just as a round, but y'all, something beautiful happened, right? Just like butterflies emerge from a cocoon. Watch how this thing turns out. I cannot even believe it. So I'm just going to fold these. You remember when we were in school and we were young and we folded these little fans all the times with our paper? All the time, because we didn't have air conditioning in our classrooms, did we? No. Kids today, they have it all. We didn't have that. We had windows and hot air blowing in, right? If you were lucky to sit by a window. If you were lucky. Okay, so I'm just pleating this. I'm folding it over on itself back and forth, trying to get my lines fairly the same size. Now, this is two doilies now. I have stacked these together. These are two together. I didn't move them. They came out of the pack like that, and I left them that way. This way we'll get the same size when we open them up. Okay? Now, we can kind of open the little pleat here. You see how it looks? And we can pull those two layers apart. When you do it this way, you get exactly the same size and the same folds, so it is equal when you put these two together. I am going to use my hands to grab it in the middle, just like this. I'm going to clamp it until I can get my hole punch out. There's my little hole punch, and a little bit of string. You can use any kind of string or cord you want. You won't really be able to see it. Now, when I fold it in half, that gives me an idea of where center is, so I can poke a hole on here. And I actually did not get this exactly centered. This is another one of those things where I looked up and did something wrong that turned out right. So I'm going to feed this right through where I made the hole. And I'm going to tie this in a double knot. Don't tie it too tight or you'll tear your paper. And we'll trim off what we don't need now. And by the way, you see the red on my fingers? I don't have sores or cuts on my fingers except for, you know, where you see when I have a Band-Aid on. That is actually red paint. That's spray paint. Later on in the video, you're going to see some things that I'm going to be spray painting. So that's what that is. Nobody be alarmed. Okay, so when I start to pull this apart, I realize because I didn't use a square, it's not going to be a circle. But look what happens. Oh my goodness, it's a butterfly. You can't imagine how surprised I was when that happened. Alright, so I'm just going to use a little bit of hot glue, but you use whatever type of adhesive you want to use here. The hot glue is going to grab it tightly, but you got to be super careful not to burn your fingers. Really protect your hands. I was moving too fast this day to actually follow my own rules, y'all. But I was so excited to get this video out for y'all because the ones I did last year were so well received. I thought, yeah, we're going to do this, definitely do this again. And I love the Victorian decor. Oh, y'all look at this butterfly. She's a beaut. And then I'm going to extend the length of it a little bit by doing the top just a tad and the bottom just a tad. Just where the fold ends. Look at that. So now I'm going to cut out a section to make a little ornament to go right in the middle. And I'm going to use a pen just to mark around, and then I will go right in the inside so you don't see my pen marks and make a circle. Sharp scissors are important. I have used these poor things so much I need to sharpen them. How do you sharpen your scissors? What do y'all do to sharpen yours? Do you use the tinfoil trick or the sandpaper trick, or do you actually have like a little tool that you sharpen with? I would love to know because it would help me a lot. Alright, so I'm going to go around and around and around and around here. Try not to burn my hands. Just tiny bit of glue to put this down. If you've got the time to use glue or Mod Podge, you can certainly do that. And then just to get my circle nice and smooth, I'm going to set that scissor right on the edge of the wood and cut around it. This will give me the perfect smoothness that I'm looking for. You could always sand this if you wanted to. If you don't have small scissors, go ahead and sand it. I do this a lot. I'm going to grab Mod Podge and some of this Reflections, I think it says Midnight or Twilight glitter. It's a very fine black metallic, and I thought it looked so pretty with the colors on the butterfly. So we're going to trim this out with that. I'm going to grab that Mod Podge, go all around here, and let it even overlap onto the picture just a little bit. And that way it'll kind of be framed out a little. But remember, wherever you put the glue is where the glitter is going to stay. So just try to clean it up. I made a little smear in one area that I try to fix, but you know, it's not that big of a deal. It's still there, but I'm probably the only person in the world who would notice it. You know how we are about our own crafts. We critique ourselves pretty roughly sometimes. Alright, so I'm going to tap it off. I'll save the rest. Now you can always put that back in the jar. Look how beautiful that black glitter is. It's so fine and pretty. It's going to look so nice on that butterfly. So now this is just a dry brush, and I'm going to use it just to kind of clean up a little bit to get all that extra glitter off there and make it go out to these sides. You see me trying to clean it up. Whee, butterfly. Okay, so we're going to take this piece of wire, and I just get these wires on a paddle. I have silver, I have green, I have a matte green. You know, we use these with floral arrangements and for all kinds of things actually, but they're great to make your own hooks for ornaments too. So we're going to make our own hook, but we're also going to use this wire to add a little stability to our butterfly. I'm going to feed it through underneath that little piece of twine that we used to put it together. I'm going to feed it down one of the bottom wings and then just tape it on. Then I'll tape it on the top little section here too, so everything stays in place. If you put it right at the top, the weight of Santa is going to pull that forward. So in order to keep from doing that, we need to have a wire where we can flex it a little bit so that it will stand out straight when you put it on your tree. Because this is going to be a beautiful ornament for a tree. What a lovely, just statement ornament. Y'all, it's so pretty. You could add glitter on this too as well if you wanted to, but I wanted it just here on Santa. I'm going to add some hot glue. Set him right in the middle of the butterfly. Y'all look at that. Would y'all just look at that? Obsessed is not even, that's not even the best word to use for it. I don't even know what you would call it. It's so pretty, and I did surprise myself. Look at him flying. Look at my little butterfly flying. I was even playing with it. Look here. Here she goes, and there it goes, flying off to Christmas. The next project is going to be a candle trio. These are bottle stickers that came from Temu in a pack. I have several more of these left. Not a sponsored video, by the way. I just love these. I love them very much. They're very vintagey to me. These are 3 Dollar Tree candles. You can use any color you like. I've got some ribbons that match what's going on in our pictures. I also have some old ribbons. Look at this beauty. I'll be sad when this is gone. I'm going to use this again at Valentine's. So the candles are now clean. They have been scraped clean of their tags, and I've used glass cleaner on them so that everything will adhere nicely. The dark side that I was showing you is where the candle looks kind of yuck, where it's stuck to the side. That's going to be the back. I don't want that to show at all. So that I'm just going to pick wherever I want to put this on my candle. I need to have enough space where it's close enough up that I can kind of frame this out or use some ribbon to make it pretty. I'll put it in the middle first and then drop the sides down so I've got no bubbles, and these adhere very well. There's no bubbles, there's no issues at all. Same thing here. I'm going to flip it around with that darker sections to the back, so I can put the pretty side to the front, and I will peel this one off and do the same thing. If you want to measure, you can measure first and make you some lines so that it's perfect, but if you get it a little crooked, you can fix that when you frame it with your ribbons. Here's the boot. This may be my favorite one. So pretty. I don't know, I like them all though. Which one of these three do you think is the prettiest print? I really don't know. So I'm going to use some of this beautiful ribbon to just trim the top and bottom of this one, because I want to show you different ways. I want to put the sections that are cut in the back. I don't want to see that, so they're in the back. I kind of get out of the frame. You know how I do. I get all excited and I'm not paying attention. Look how pretty that is. Then I'll take the bottom one and I'll flip it over so it looks like the red's on the bottom and the little gold lacy part is on the top. So I'm going to put some glue here. Press it down with a stick or a spatula, or, you know, if it's cool temp glue, your finger, whatever. Just protect yourself. Clean up any mess. And look how pretty this looks from a Dollar Tree candle. If you don't have these type of stickers, y'all could use window clings. Did you know that? Dollar Tree has lots of pretty window clings. I don't know that they have Victorian, but if you don't like Victorian style and you watch my videos anyway, you could always do this with any type of sticker you have. So this beautiful green velvet, I'm going to cut this. This came from Hobby Lobby. I got this 50% off way early in the season. It was probably Thanksgiving or Halloween when I found it. I'm going to go all the way to the outside where it is just barely overlapping the outside to really extend this picture around the candle. Making little swirlies because I don't want a straight line to show through my velvet. This is very good ribbon, very good quality. It doesn't fray at all whenever I cut it, which is marvelous. No extra work to have to do. And then I'll just frame this. I put my sides on first and then my top, and then we'll do the bottom. You can do it in whatever order you like, you know. You don't have to do it just like me. Make it your own, right? Always make it your own. That's what it's all about. And try to find your prices at a good point. Go to clearance sales after holidays. Look at the clearance section in stores. Try places that are known to have inexpensive items like Dollar Tree, you know, like Temu, things like that, to help you out. Okay, so now I'm going to go with this one, and I'm going to go down the sides with a little bit of Mod Podge and some of this beautiful lacy gold trim. Have to take my time with this one because it will slide around pretty easily, but you could always use a thicker Mod Podge if you would like. I didn't want to use anything too bulky on this project, and at least this way, if I want to, you know, take the trim off, I obviously could take the trim off, but who would want to? It's pretty, right? And because it's on the outside of this candle, it shouldn't pose as any type of a fire hazard. So, you know, always check, do your research. You know, we don't want anything close to the top of the candle, certainly, because that would be a fire hazard. So just always remember safety first, okay? I love y'all, and I don't want to see anybody get hurt or to lose anything, okay? Especially not when you're crafting. All right, now I'm going to cut off about 16 inches of ribbon here, maybe a little bit less. And I'm going to make some very simple little bows. You make the little awareness sign and then you squish it together, and that makes a pretty little bow. So here's the awareness sign. Okay. Then I'll take the back, squish it to the center where we crossed it over, and that gives us our bow. We're going to put this thin green ribbon right on top of that lacy ribbon. Then I'll take a piece of gold ribbon that I have. It's a little bit different in color than the gold lacy ribbon, but I think it's pretty anyway. And I'm going to tie it in the center. And then I'm going to, rather than cutting it off, I just decided to leave that in there, and I'm just going to trim it when I trim the rest of it. Cutting it at a slant. I'm not doing dovetails. I'm going to add some hot glue on the back. Not enough to squish out, but enough to hold it together. Now be sure that your Mod Podge is dry before you go on to doing anything else, because your ribbons will come off, so make sure the Mod Podge is dry. And then I'll just kind of work with the ribbon a little bit to have this one looking the way that we intend for it to look. Nice. Very pretty. Which one you like best? The next is going to be our sleigh arrangement. We're going to use another one of those little postcards, a different one. I have a scrap of paper. I'm going to use foam blocks. This beautiful sleigh that I found at the thrift store. Look at this beauty. I'm not even going to do anything with it other than clean it up a little bit on the inside. Double stick tape, a berry pick. We're going to cut it up. We're going to cut this one up, this one, and then the one on the bottom. These are 3 different types of evergreen that we're using. I'm going to start by deciding where I want my foam pieces to go. I know that it's going to take about 1 1/4 or 1 1/3 there. So I'm just going to cut those pieces to fit down on the inside. Y'all, I am working on getting out the rest of the boxes. Can you believe it? We ran out of prizes. My husband went and picked up some more things from Harbor Freight, and we are getting ready to get the rest of the boxes out to y'all. So if I've announced you as a winner and you haven't gotten it, it's coming. And I still have a couple of winners to announce, so I'll be drawing those and getting those out very soon. All right, double stick tape. We're going to put on the back of here. I don't know what size this is going to be yet, so I'm just going to eyeball it and see how much of a frame I want with this piece of scrapbook paper. This is just cardstock in the back. I'm going to push it down, then I'll use my little tool here, and I will go over it to make sure it's burnished down and it doesn't come apart. Perfect. Then I'm just going to take my little tool. I've had this thing for a while now. It's just a little pendulum cutter. It's good for little things, but it won't do big paper. You know, it's not big enough. I'm just going to trim it down. Now I've got my perfect size. I didn't have to use my scissors or ruler, and it's perfect. We're going to make a pick or sign to go in the beautiful arrangement display. So I'm going to use just a thin craft stick. I'm going to stick it down in some hot glue. I'm going to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth over here. And then I am going to add another little scrap of that same paper to give it a very nice clean finish on the back. So when you see it from the other side, it's nice and neat. How about that? Now we're going to start putting down all of that beautiful evergreen greenery. You can see what I'm doing here. This is how I'm going to arrange it. Now, arrange it, rather. If you don't have one of these, I think, unless your Dollar Tree is out, if you picked up any of those little plastic sleds from Dollar Tree, you could certainly paint your sled a white color, maybe do some painting on it, or make some designs with a glue gun and then brush over it with a little bit of gold, and you could make your own sled. But certainly if you have a sled in your decor that you haven't used in years, get that thing out, make something beautiful with it. I'm going to cut down all these pieces. I love that the greenery is giving those old vibes. It's given that beautiful woodland look that I love so much. And I think it matches a lot of what's going on in the card over there. And plus, you know, I just love greenery in general. I have went through so much greenery this year. So much. And after I use it, if I don't keep the arrangements or give them away, I pull them out and I donate them back because I get most of my greenery at the thrift store. So, I mean, I'll turn around and give it back, and then somebody else will be excited about finding it. You know, nothing wrong with that. I've done all I could for it. It's time to go back. All right, so I'm just adding these here and there. I'm trying to mimic what I do on the left with what I do on the right. What I am doing in the front, I will keep a little bit shorter than what is going on in the back. This is going to be a squatty low arrangement. Nothing high in this, nothing like that. Squatty and low. I'll be showing you from here to, you know, time to time here like I have been. I'll pick it up and let you see the shape of this arrangement. Very wild, very woodland, and I absolutely love it. You could use hollies. If you wanted to use some flowers, you could use some chrysanthemums in here. You could use poinsettias in here. You know, really whatever you like. So once I get it done on the top, you know, I start looking around the sides, and I'm going to be adding in some of the red berries on the sides as well. And what I have left is the middle top of that berry pick, and then I will use that to put down in that middle spot. You see the little empty spot there? I'm going to grab this. I'm going to give it a little bit of a fluff and place it right in that spot. How gorgeous. Look at the berries falling all over the table. You know I saved those berries, right? I sure did. I got a little bowl on the side and I stuck them all in there. So you see the style of this arrangement? Love it. It's beautiful. You put it in the middle of your table, everybody can see around it. So you could use this as decor anywhere in your house, but you could certainly use this as a centerpiece if you would like. Now here's that beautiful card. Oh yes. Santa, you're bringing me woodland vibes. You definitely are. All the woodland vibes. And Victorian. The next is going to be our tart pan ornaments, of course. Alright y'all, I've got some, I'm going to drop it obviously, an apple red satin Rust-Oleum spray paint. I'm going to use my awl and a hammer. I have some more of that wire. Some pearl beads or pearl rounds, little circles. And then I'm going to use some tart pans. A lot of you had told me in one of my tart pan ornaments that you had so many of these and didn't know what to do. I'm about to bring you some more inspiration. So we have 3 of each of these sizes and the red paint. We're going to take them outside and coat them down. Once they are dry, I'm going to get them lined up here. We will add some hot glue in the middle of the largest one. Set the medium size one in there. When we'll do each one of those right in there. Do y'all know what we're making? We're making poinsettias. Look at this. I found this by accident the other day. I get inspired by the weirdest things. I was stacking them up and something fell and it landed kind of one inside the other, and I thought, that looks like a flower. Can you see my fingerprint over there in the left? That's one that I got too much spray paint in and wouldn't dry all the way, so now it's on the tip of my finger. But paint all over my hands. Now, because the center of a beautiful Christmas poinsettia has the little, looks like little seated section, we're going to use pearls for that because this is Victorian, right? Yes. So I'm going to drop them in that well of hot glue because I put a good bit of hot glue in there because I want these to nest down in there flat side by side. Look how pretty. And then I'll do the same thing with this one until it is nice and full. You can position them with your fingers, but I'm telling you, unless you're using cool temp glue, do not put your finger in that hot glue. Don't do it. It will hurt. Oh, I'm ordering myself one of those. It's a bowl, like a little pot that you put the glue pellets in for flower arrangements. So when I get it, I'll show y'all what that's like. Now, I don't have any leaves to work for a poinsettia, so I thought, you know what? I've got these thrifted pieces of holly leaves that got no berries with them. And I thought, why don't we just use our imagination and we're just going to put them together. They're both greenery for Christmas, so we're just going to put them together and we're going to make little green leaves to go on our beautiful flower ornaments. So I'm just going to stack one on top of the other. These are fragile. They're like a hard plastic and they break pretty easily, so I'm really trying to be careful how I handle them. I'm going to cut these in about probably 5 or 6 inch pieces, one for each of these flowers, because we are going to make hangers for these ornaments, of course. And you know how easy it is to make a hanger. We're going to make a little hook on the top of each one of these, leave it long on the bottom because we're going to be putting that in the ornament. Pretty. Very easy. You can always, if you don't have the wire, just use the ornament hooks that you buy at the store. You can get a big pack of those for very little, and you can probably get them at Dollar Tree. So I'll take my awl on the inside of one of those little scalloped areas, and then I have a board underneath so I don't make a hole in my table, and then I'll just go around it with my awl so I don't hurt my hand. Go through the hole, loop it back up, and then wrap it around itself. Careful not to poke your little fingers. You don't want to get a wire that is too stiff or you can hurt yourself, but you want something that's going to hold the weight of the ornament so when you hang it on the tree, it doesn't pull the hook out of the top. if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense to you. So I wouldn't recommend that really thick wire that you get at Dollar Tree. The colored wires, I don't think that that would work. They're too soft. Now going by the other ornament, I'm trying to place this in about the same area, and putting it closer toward the front rather, is going to make it hang correctly so that it doesn't hang at a weird angle. You always need to be sure about that because the weight of things can change the center of it, right? So here's the last one, and we're getting it all wrapped up. And then once we know what's top and bottom, we can start adding our little leaves onto the ornaments. I ran out of glue in the other glue gun. How about that? I had to switch it over. Had two of them going at one time, and that's what I do with most of my projects. You'll see me go from the small one to the larger one, back and forth. So there's the first one. And then I'm going to put the greenery in different spots on each one of these ornaments. Just, you know, kind of mix it up a little bit. I'm going to hold it for a moment to let everything sit up and dry. And then on this one, we'll put it at the bottom. Look how pretty these are, y'all. Just for a little something extra, I thought let's add some sparkle in the middle. So rather than dumping glitter on here, I just want to add a little bit of a gold touch by putting some of this gold glitter Mod Podge on here. I'm brushing over all the pearls. I'm not getting it on the red at all. And then after I get each one of those little pearls done, we'll put just a tiny bit onto the leaves. I'm also focusing on any of those beads that flipped up where the hole is outward. I'm kind of plugging it with a little bit of this Mod Podge so you don't necessarily notice the bead. Then I'll take it right along the tips of the little spikes on the leaves, and then I'll go back and go right down the center with a very thin line of that gold glitter Mod Podge. You see, you can see the little sparkle already on some of these. It's very pretty. You could use a gold foil if you wanted. That would be pretty too. And these are how these lovely little ornaments are going to look. I hope that y'all like these ornaments. I changed my display a little bit. It's kind of wrinkled, but the wrinkles will fall out gradually. But let's take a look at what we did today. Here's the beautiful surprise butterfly ornament with Santa. Very Victorian. Then we have our little trio here. I've just displayed them on a vine star. You can see the different positions of the leaves and the little touch of glitter. Here's that millwork that we did. So pretty, so expensive looking. It just, to me, it looks like metal. It definitely looks like a piece of metal. I want to take the opportunity to say thank you to everybody who supports me, whether you are a viewer, a subscriber, a member, whether you buy me a coffee, whether you buy my merch, whether you do any of the things that you do, liking, sharing, subscribing, talking about me with your family and friends, sharing my videos with family and friends, and people that you think would enjoy my content is so kind of you. And the thought that you take your precious time to come to my channel and check my videos twice a week. You check my videos out. It's awesome. The first project is a Victorian wreath. We're going to start off with one of these grapevine wreaths. This is about 17 or 18 by 14, so it's oval. Then I have some of these beautiful poinsettia picks from Dollar Tree, 2 different kinds in 3 bunches. And I have 2 of these tubes of ornaments in 2 different sizes, and we have like a rose gold and a gold. These are a set of bells that I got from the thrift store. Then we have some glitter paint, some rose gold paint, and a sponge brush, a variety of old ribbons and new, whatever you have on hand. We're going to start by clipping off all of our flowers. Leave enough stem there that we can attach these down into the wreath. Now let me show you how you can make these pitiful looking flowers much more substantial. We're going to put two together. So we're going to pull one off, and this is me trying to discover how to get the centerpiece off. It's just easiest. I cut it, and then the little seed part just pops right out. And then we have 4 leaves here. I'm going to take the stem from another flower, feed it right through, put the stem back on, and look at that. So we're going to do the same thing with these, but these have like a little snap sort of situation going on, and it just pops off, but it stays on very securely. So I'm going to take the bees off of this one. Now we just have the 2 layers of petals. I'm going to take one more of these apart, pull the back off, leave the berries in that one, or the center, and then just push those other petals up there. Snap that little back part back on. If I was looking at what I was doing with my glasses, I could have got that first try. Put the stem back on and look at the difference. Isn't that amazing? Alright, so I knew that I wanted these bells to be a rose gold color. However, I wasn't exactly sure how the paint would do on this plastic, because these are just plastic bells. So I start off with a brush putting the paint on, and it just barely makes any coverage. I go ahead though and do all 3 of them, but then I go back in with one of these brushes, and I'm just kind of pouncing in it and just offloading and just dotting it all over the bells. And y'all, the texture that this makes is beautiful. It looks like old bells, or old and rusted and aged. It looks perfect for the Victorian style, so I really hope that you try this. Now I've got some fern picks from Dollar Tree, and these are in gold, and then I'm not sure where these came from because I thrifted these, and they're just some type of a pine, I guess, since they have pine cones. We're going to take the fern picks apart, just cut them down where we have enough stem to work with, and leave these greenery pieces whole. Now for my wreath, I'm going to start on the bottom and just push this into the grapevine wreath, you know, the stem part of it, and then for a change, rather than using floral wire here, I'm going to use some zip ties to show you that you can do things many different ways, and it's just not wrong. Just however you can get these on here, you can put them on here. If you don't have a zip tie, if you don't have floral wire, you can always hot glue them, although I'm not sure how long it would last that way. Or you could use pipe cleaners, you know, whatever you want to use here. You could use some jute cord, whatever you have. There's no excuse to stop once we've gotten started, right? Right, so we're going to move along with the other 2 picks, and these are kind of going to go upward. I'm going to start with the higher one, and it's going to kind of go toward the top center, as you can see here. It's going to wrap around this way. And it is not going in the same direction as the bottom piece. I'm going to secure it down with a zip tie, and then I'm going to grab another one, put a little bend in its stem too, and just put it right underneath the one we just put in. It's going to leave a little gap in the middle for us to add a bow at a later time. Very easy. Zip tie, snug it down on there, and any pieces that need a little securing, go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to start adding this beautiful gold fern. I chose the greenery that I'm using here because it has sort of a bluish gray tint, and I thought it would give a really pretty contrast with all of the warm from the gold, and I think it will look nice with the pink too, that cool color. And the pink is actually, I guess it's more of a mauve type color. I'm not really sure. You could maybe call it rose gold. I mean, what do you think? You'll see when you get a closer look at those ornaments. You tell me what color you think it is, because I'm really not sure what to call it. So I'm going to move these pieces around in the greenery, just some sticking out, some on top, just kind of thread them around through each other and fluff them where they need to be fluffed. Just spread it out a little bit so it looks like it belongs there. And I'm going to continue around with this. And I decided that one more piece right here would be pretty. Just a kind of little flyaway, a little extra up there. And this is how it looks so far once we've got our greenery on, our greenery and goldery. And now these now lush poinsettias that we put together, we can start adding these. If you don't have poinsettias from the Dollar Tree, that's fine. You can get them on at Hobby Lobby right now, I think for 60% off. It's very economical. And I've heard that Walmart has some beautiful greenery picks out this year too, so you might want to check that out. We always want to keep it budget friendly on this channel, right? That's how we do it here. We want to do different things and we want to keep it budget friendly. So I'm continuing around with the two different types of poinsettias. Looking good so far. Now I'm going to move on to these beautiful ribbons that I found. These I got from the thrift store. They have staples in them. That's really weird, so be careful with that. We're going to make a bow. I'm going to use my own little bow maker tool here. Didn't copy anybody. I'm very appreciative of the original creator of this. Mine is not exactly the same, so I'm not putting anybody out of their royalties or anything. Just making something that I can afford, right? And you know how to make a bow. You've seen me do this bow before. This is not a difficult bow. And the fabric in these bows, well, in this ribbon is wonderful. It's old, but the texture is so different than anything I've felt before. It's a stiffer, papery, yet still fabric type. I don't know. And this is like a velvety feeling ribbon, and it's got the glittery polka dots on it. So pretty. We're going to do 2 loops on each side, and they are going to be 6-inch loops with 18-inch tails. So you saw me first put the 18-inch tail out there, and then make 2 sets of loops like this. Then I'm going to pull that other tail down. Make sure we get them about the same length. Doesn't have to be perfect. Snip it off. Okay? Now leaving that bow on the bow maker, I am going to go ahead and add on my next ribbon. This one is a stunner. This ribbon is absolutely beautiful. It has poinsettias on it. It is silver and gold. And it's also that really interesting feel. It's almost, I don't know, is taffeta the right word for it? I don't know. It's really different. It is wired. Both of these are wired ribbon. So it's the same process as we did with the bow underneath. You see me just kind of fold it in half. That's how I always do my bows, so that the bulky part goes in the middle. Squeeze my wire pieces together and then feed it down there, and then cut it off. Now I'm just going to take a piece of cotton twine, and you can certainly use whatever you have here for this, because it won't show in the end. So go ahead and use a pipe cleaner or a zip tie, whatever you're more comfortable with, because we will be covering up the center. And then add a couple of knots, snip it off, get all that excess out of the way, and then you can start looking at your bow and fluffing it out. I love the combination of these 2 bows together. Now the bow on the bottom has the 6-inch loops. The bow on the top, I don't think I said, it has 5-inch loops. So it's a little bit smaller, the one in the front, but the tails are about the same length. You see how this material just stands up so, I don't know, it's wonderful. I wish that we could find Dollar Tree ribbons of this quality. So pretty. We're going to dovetail the ends, or you can cut them at a slant, whatever you're comfortable with. I'm trying to put a really steep cut there just to make it a little different. I'm going to take a thin piece of floral wire, go through my little center here where we tied it. You could always do this before you tie the center up, but I almost always forget. So this is an easy way to kind of make it look like you did it on purpose. I meant to do that. So put it down in the center of where those greenery pieces meet. And I'm just going to take the wire around the back and twist it and fold it tightly and tuck it into the wreath so it doesn't poke any fingers. This is how we're looking so far. Really like it. So now here are those ornaments, and there's that pinkish color I was talking about. I'm going to add some hot glue to hold these little tops on because they pretty much snap on, but when you're bundling these together and putting pressure on them, they have a tendency to pop off, and I don't want that to happen once I've gotten all that work done. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it now. get it over with, and I'll do every one of the bundles, and we're going to do 3 bundles. This is easy. You just feed them through the wire. I'm just going to do 2 golds and a pink, and then 2 pinks and a gold, just to kind of alternate them. So 1 big, 2 small in each little bundle. Twist them together. See, this would be the part where they would pop off of those little hanger sections if you didn't have them glued on. I'm going to trim this off and then twist down to sort of make like a little more of an area that you can attach it down to the wreath. A little something else to add some glue to. Just twisting it, folding it up, twisting it again, so it almost has like a little stem, which you could feed through the wreath if you chose to do it that way. But they'll be nice and tight in there. Then you're going to add some hot glue to your wire, to the ornaments, wherever it needs to be added, so that it stays in the very center of your bow. And to me, y'all, that is pretty. Those colors are so gorgeous together, don't you think? I think that the pastels and the wine colors, they're all colors that look really good in a Victorian style home or decor. And I'm just going to add 3 sets, so 1 on the top, 1 in the bow, and then 1 is going to be in the bottom. Just trying to get an idea of where I'm at. Once the bell has dried, I'm going to take this beautiful older looking gold. It's like a brushed gold, I think is what it's called. A tiny little foam brush, and I'm going to go all over the clapper, or that little round part of the bell, and the bottom of the bell. You can see me patting that on. I'm trying to do this all the way up to the edge of where the pink starts or the rose gold starts. And I'm going to go up and down all the way over until every bit of that bright shiny silver that was on there is covered up. And you just have to be patient with this, because it does take 2 coats to cover it, you know, to be thick enough to really cover it. So this is what it looks like with 1. Right there. And then you'll do each one of those, let them dry, and do 1 more coat. And then I'm going to choose my placement where I want these bells to be on this wreath. Initially, I thought I would hang them right down in the middle, but for balance sake, I think it looks better off to the side. So this is where I've decided to place it. To give it a little more support and something to attach the bells a little more securely to the wreath, I'm just using a piece of a popsicle stick that I broke off, or a craft stick, and I am going to give it like a little base there. That'll be where we put our glue. Right through the top there's a couple of holes, so I'm taking another piece of that wire, the floral wire, feeding it through there, and that's how I'm going to attach the top part of it to the wreath. You can feed it through the wreath into the back, or really the easiest, most non-frustrating way to do it is just to wrap it all the way around, twist it up, and it's so thin you're not going to be able to see it. Adding hot glue on that craft stick back there and pressing it down, and then underneath the base, if there's any areas that you can see or touching, you can go ahead and put it there too. I'm going to add another piece of fern just to cover up my little top there. And this is what we have. I've done a lot of research on vintage and Victorian, and this is my idea. This is my representation of what a Victorian wreath would look like. Do you like it? If you do, a thumbs up would be much appreciated, and it will let me know that I am on the right track. The next is our angelic choir. So I've got 2 of these little trees. I've got some more of that shimmer glitter spray, some vintage little angels, and they're having instruments. Look, one of them's playing the bass. They're from Hong Kong. And then we have a flute and a clarinet, I believe. This is a spoon rest. Wherever Room Essentials comes from, that's where this came from, but I thrifted it. Automotive cloth from Dollar Tree. We're going to take the heirloom white satin spray paint and spray paint this. After it is dry with 1 coat, you're going to do each side. You're going to take the handle and spray it with your shimmer spray, or you can use a shimmer glue, or you can use Mod Podge and glitter, or whatever you want to do. I'm going to make a platform for the top of this. This is going to be like a stage for our angel choir. I'm going to cut out outside of the line just a little bit because I want there to be a lip, and you'll see why shortly. Nice and smooth. And it is going to fit perfectly on top of my spoon rest. Using my glue gun, I'm going to add some glue all around the edges. This is hot glue, so you got to work kind of quickly and be careful with your fingers. I'm going to place it on top, quickly turn it over, and then just kind of slide it into place. Press it down and let it cool. Then we're going to have to cover our stage. So I'm just using a pen, and I'm going outside, putting some little guide dots on this automotive cloth so that I have enough to overlap onto the stage part and onto the bottom part. Make it nice and neat. This is not the easiest stuff to cut, and I have sharp scissors, so just be patient. Protect your fingers. We should all have these finger protectors by now. Then I'm going to add glue on my cardboard section and just squish up the side. You got to keep it laying flat so that it doesn't slide around, and just do this all the way over. It's going to completely cover the little platform, and it's going to overlap onto the bottom of the spoon rest. All the way around, and you're going to push upward and close your little gap there. Hopefully you won't have any little black marks showing. In the end, you can't see them, but just be careful with that. Here are our beautiful little angels. I want to show you the difference. See, I had two of the same ones. One of them was broken, so I experimented on her. She's missing her little bow. And I really like the way it looks covered. If you don't want to do this and you like the aged patina, by all means leave it exactly like that. But for me, I wanted this to be a little more gilded. I guess that's the word I'm going to go with. We're going to gild them. That's what we're doing. So I'm going to do each one of these like this, and I'm just kind of offloading the paint and just tapping that all over. I don't want a bunch of gloppy paint settling down in all of the cracks. I just want it to be pretty and shimmery and rich. It makes a big difference. So whatever's left on the brush, I'm just going to go over the handle of the spoon rest. Now we're going to start putting our stage together. We'll start by adding the trees, making sure that when I put the trees down on here that I'm not taking up too much space and that our angels still have room to be there. You're probably not, well, you're most likely not going to have this exact same spoon rest, but you could do this with a Dollar Tree spoon rest probably. I don't know if they have a lip around the edge or not, but it might work. And you could certainly do this with the top of a teacup. That would be really gorgeous, but I didn't have one, so this is what we're using. But it almost looks like a stage, right? Like they would walk up the stage and take their places. Once those angels are dry, we're going to start putting those down on the stage. I'm going to hold it for a minute and press down a little bit so that the glue goes through that fabric onto the cardboard and really locks it into place. I don't want anything flopping around. So far, this is how it looks. So pretty. Now we're going to embellish the stage. So I've got some of this old ribbon or trim. I don't know what would you call this? Trim, ribbon? I've always referred to it as ribbon, but we're going to trim out the stage with it. So there you go. It's very luxe looking to me with that old gold, and the gold in that ribbon or trim is about the same color that is in our angels. So it's perfect, and it looks rich, and it looks regal, and it looks Victorian to me. I'm going to add this all the way around my edge. It doesn't take a lot of glue because the fabrics cling to each other quite well. Just going to pat it down until we're all the way around back to the handle of the spoon rest. You can cut that off. And in the shape or the design of this ribbon, it's got little, if you don't cut it in a certain way, it will have little pieces that stick out because they're kind of sewn together. So I'm trying to watch where the stitches are and cut around them so that I still have that really pretty shape without anything fraying. And I do go back over the other side and correct that side too. Now I'm going to make a bow. Of course, I'm making a bow with that same beautiful peach and gold. It's just a regular little awareness sign bow, very simple. And it looks like a layered bow because of the two different textures that are on this one piece. I'm going to give it a couple of knots in the back and then trim off. I just used a little bit of jute. It really kind of blends in because the ribbon there is very busy. But you can use whatever you like to close it. I've got this beautiful rhinestone from some fake jewelry. And I'm going to add it in the center of the bow. Now look at that richness. Alright, so Dollar Tree sells these little sheets of pearl looking stickers. I'm just cutting out the sections that I need, and I will need 1.5 sections. You can peel the backing off just like that and then start laying that down. I'm going to go right over the top, right, trying to center it in the peach section, so in that little colored section so that you can still see it. These little pearls, the little tape in the back is transparent, so you can still see the color underneath. It really just looks like a row of beads on there. You don't even notice the back. Then I'll cut another little section because it wasn't long enough to go all the way around, and then trim that off once I get back to the handle. Nice and neatly. This is it so far. Feel free to stop whenever you want to stop. But you know me. I pulled the tops off of some of those ferns. They almost have like a little tree seed pod looking thing on the top. I thought they would be perfect trees to add to the stage. So we have our natural trees on there, and we're going to add some of these golden trees. I've got some little pearl beads. Do not know where they came from, but you certainly can get those at Dollar Tree. And I'm going to add a little hot glue and then go into both of these trees. If you don't use glue, they will pop straight out. That's how it will look on the one tree. And then I have some of these that I got from the thrift store. They're tiny stars, but they don't have, I don't think these have holes. No, they don't. So they're not beads, but there's just some type of an embellishment. But again, the color is perfect. It matches perfectly with the other gold that we have going on here. And I'm not a big gold girl, but this aged gold, I am loving this. It's something so warm about it. Isn't that sweet? Our little angelic choir. If you love these ladies as much as I do, please give me a thumbs up. It tells YouTube that my videos are quality and that you're enjoying it, so I can give you more material. Next is our Victorian ornament. Okay, so here is a pink ornament or a mauve, whatever you want to call it. We can use any type of sticker ribbon. You can use adhesive pearl wrap. I've got some of that gold greenery. Here are some more of these pieces that I have, and these are just random things I pick up at Goodwill when I see it. I thought any of these would be pretty. Here is some beautiful purple and gold. Some more of that ribbon. We're going to start by taking the top off, and it just pops right off. I'm going to choose a couple more ribbons that will coordinate. Using that same gold, I'm going to go over the top and just do the same thing that we did on the bottom of the bells. And then once it is completely done, I only put one coat on here. It seems to have taken the paint pretty well. I'll set it aside to dry. And then we're going to do a quick little measurement around the ball to see how long we need our ribbons to be. Just going to go all the way around. I'm going to leave about 1/2 inch extra over, like that, so we know how much we need. And now that will be our guide to cut the rest of our ribbons. I'm going to do 2 of each one and 2 of this cord, this gold cord that I have. Now I'm just looking to see which one I would like to lay down first, and I think that the pink and white here would be good. This is not old ribbon. This one I think I got on clearance at Walmart after the spring or summertime. But I think that it is appropriate for this because the colors match very closely and the gold is just pretty. It's just pretty on there. And it gives a little bit of something extra. It's got that the leafy look. So going all the way around, we're going to, please protect your fingers for this because you're going to be touching this a lot. So protect yourself. So we've gone around the center now. Now we're going to go across the other way, like dividing this into sections. Then you can add tiny amounts of glue here and there. Especially when you cross over another piece of ribbon, that's a good place to put more glue. But you can certainly put it on the ball. Just be careful that you don't make a mess. I'm not sure if the paint would peel off if you had an accidental boo-boo with the glue here. I'm not sure how that would work, so just be on the safe side. Try to use as little glue as possible and make sure that you're looking before you do it. You see, I'm looking right between the center of these two white ribbons, and I know that's where this beautiful lavender, mauve, rose gold color will go. Right across the center section in the middle. I want to keep these sections as symmetrical as possible and as neat as I can make it. This ornament was fun to do. This ornament could make me do Victorian Christmas in my home. And you know me, I'm rustic, traditional, used to do the farmhouse thing, definitely love the outdoors type woodland stuff, but there's something so precious about this. I hope that this ornament can find its way to a good home because this thing took a lot of work, but it was worth it. And I've sped it up for you, but I didn't want to cut all this out because I feel like sometimes when we're doing something that takes a lot of time, we start questioning ourselves, saying, oh my gosh, what am I doing this wrong? Am I putting this in the wrong spot? How did she say to do it? So I'm leaving it in here so that you can see it. You see, I'm dividing each section that is made by another section. So now we've got the gold on here, and you notice the gold is a different texture. The gold is not old either. I'm not even sure where I got it, probably thrifting, because I very rarely ever buy anything unless it's on clearance or if I thrift it or get it at Dollar Tree, of course. And you might could find something like this at Dollar Tree. Heck, I might have got it from Dollar Tree. They have a ton of ribbon right now at Dollar Tree, at least in my Dollar Trees in Alabama. Lots and lots of ribbon and trim. You just got to be careful and don't get too excited about it because the quality is not there for all of it. So after I've got all the ribbons down, I'm going to add my cording to this. All the way around, cross over. At this point, if you wanted to add a tassel on the bottom, you probably could do that. But I wanted to keep my ornament busy in a different way. And you'll see what I do. So far, this is how it looks. You could always pop that top back on with some hot glue and be done. But I'm not done. I've got some of this beautiful tinsley-like sparkly ribbon, and it looks really good, although you can't tell right now, but bear with me, it's going to get better in just a minute. It's trying to focus on the ornament instead of what I'm doing down there. I am going to flip that purple ribbon over, add some glue to it, flip that other tinsely-looking ribbon right over the top of it. This was just a random piece that I got from the thrift store. Continue all along until you got one piece that looks like one ribbon, that looks like it was made this way. It's very pretty. Look at this. Look how that turned out. Doesn't that look like one beautiful, expensive ribbon? It's going to wrap around the center of the ornament. So what you want to do is start getting an idea of where the center is going to be, kind of hold it in place. Put some glue on one of the ribbon sections, doesn't matter which one. then you're going to overlap that right back onto itself. So you're going to press that down there, and it is kind of fuzzy and crazy right now, but I'll clean it up, don't worry. And so this is what it looks like around the center. Go ahead at this time and add a little more glue here and there so that this belt that goes around it, or this section, does not slide up and down your ornament. We don't want this to look cheap. We want this to look like we took the time that we actually took to do it. I'm going to trim off any little fuzzies and extras that might be in the way. And we're going to start working on this side. So we're going to cover this up with a little, I don't know if this is like a little crocheted piece. I don't know. I don't know about needlework or that type of thing. So feel free to tell me what this is if this is not crochet, if it's knitted. But these pieces came from the thrift store, and I knew I wanted to use them in a project. So before anybody gets mad at me, it would have been in the landfill. And look how beautiful it is now, given new life. Just keep adding that glue as we're layering, overlapping. Clean up your glue strings. I've chosen this little clip-on earring to go in the center of this doily, which the center of it is actually like a flower. I could have pressed it out, ironed it out, but I just pushed it out a little bit with my hands before I added the glue, and then nestled that little jewel cluster right in the center. Now, glam is not my thing. I've never really done glam, but yeah, this Victorian is probably as close as I'm going to get to the glam. I'm going to add another piece of that gold ribbon there, add some glue, and overlap it on there so you have a nice neat ring. Then I'm going to, once it cools, I'm going to feed it back through where it hangs to make a nice neat top. I'm going to add a swag, of course, to this very regal ornament. Just putting two pieces together so they're going in opposite directions from each other, then hot glue it down. And I noticed a little gap here. I cut a little too much off, so I'm just going to add some back in. Well, that's how I like it. Going to the other side, we're going to add another little swag piece, or just one piece I used on the bag. You want it to look good from both sides because it's round and it may turn when you put it on your tree. And you don't want anything nasty on the back. So to make some more of those awareness bows, we're just going to fold it and scrunch it down, and then I'm going to use a clip to hold it in place while we do the rest of the layers. I'm going to now use the beautiful, it's like a satiny, no, it's not satin, Ofray. I'm going to layer that on top, and then some more. This is just a little bit more of that little crazy piece of ribbon. I really don't know what this stuff is, but it looks really good though. Well, in my opinion, it does. I'm not bragging. I hope when y'all hear me say something looks good, it's not me bragging. I try to give God the glory for my skills and my gifts because, you know, that's where it comes from. So being proud of it and making something and seeing it come out of my head as it comes, you know, come out of my hands as it does in my head, it gives me a sense of pride, and not a boastful way, but you know what I mean. I just really love it, and sometimes things come out better than I think that it would come out, I guess. I don't know. You know what I mean. You know, if you're a crafter, you know what I'm saying here. There's no vanity in it, in other words. So after the bows are together and tied together, we're going to dovetail our ends or cut them at a slant. And then taking some clear school glue, I'm going to go over those, that little rope section, and just twist the stick around it in the same direction. You can see what I'm doing here, so that the fabric doesn't come unglued, and then let it dry. You could do it with hot glue too, but hot glue tends to dry white, and I don't want to see that. That doesn't look very nice. I'm going to put this bow on the ribbon section, so on the hanger. It's up a little bit from the ornament, which extends the length of the ornament, and I think it gives it a really pretty look. Look at that! Can you see these on your tree? Oh my goodness, beautiful. Here are our ornaments and our decorations. So, there were 3. This is our angelic choir, possibly my favorite. Not entirely sure because I like all of these. And I really hope that y'all do. I had so many requests to do Victorian inspired Christmas, Victorian decorations, and this is what I came up with. This is my interpretation. If you liked it, if you share it, that will help the channel tremendously. And I appreciate it forever. Here's the beautiful wreath with our doubled up poinsettias that we did. Very pretty. If you don't like the pink and gold, what color ornament will be a butterfly ornament? So I've got some brushed gold paint and a brush here, and I have a little resin butterfly. I'm going to put some of that paint down and then kind of get it up into the bristles, but I don't want a lot on here. So this is almost going to be sort of like a dry brush technique, but you're going to put more paint on there than that. This is almost like you would be using a wax. When you use a wax, you know how it looks kind of, you want it to be down in the deeper areas and you want the higher pieces to be a little bit lighter colored. That's kind of the technique I was going for in this. I'm going to push down in all of those little cracks and crevices. I'm going to go around the edges too to get some good coverage on here. Now you can add as much as you like. You can do a little bit less, whichever way you like it. I'm going to take a paper towel and ball it up really, really well to make it soft and squishy, and I'm just going to gently wipe off the higher areas there. So you see how it's down in those cracks and it looks aged. Now my son decided to get in on the action here and to do a little helping. It's usually his sister who is helping me, but he is going to be my assistant for this video. So if you love what he's doing here, you could give him a thumbs up, and I know he would appreciate it. And of course it helps my channel too. So he's doing the same thing I did. He's a little bit heavier handed than I was, but you'll see it makes a difference, and it's actually helpful here in case you decide you want to do more or less, whichever look you're going for. So now he's got the towel and he's wiping off all the extra, and you can see that my side's a little bit lighter than his, but both sides are perfectly okay. Now the body of the butterfly needs to be painted, so I'm going to do a little bit heavier, leave a little bit more on the body of the butterfly. Be sure that you go around all your sides. Now maybe you don't have one of these butterflies, then what do? Well, Dollar Tree has paper butterflies in green, in yellow, in orange, in hot pink. They have a variety. It doesn't have to be something that's plastic or resin. This is just what I had on hand, so this is what I wanted to use. Now this is it's a little paper Christmas ornament, but it's more of a cardboard type thickness. And I'm using some trim here just to go around the edge. Now this is the back side. Both sides of this little ornament are exactly the same, but I'm going to put this on the back side so that it will be trim when we flip it over for the front. I'm going to go along the curves and contours of this little ornament, and this is how it'll look on the front. I'm going to go all the way around except where her little legs and feet are, so it's going to go all the way around the edges of her dress and of her body, and then can be trimmed off. You could use tinsel or whatever you have for this, and you can use a cutout. So now this little angel will be right in the middle of the butterfly, almost like she has two layers of wings. Little hot glue will hold this angel down to the body of the butterfly. So actually I didn't have to paint it off. I didn't want to. Could have saved my paint. Then I'm going to take a little bit of gold cord and go right on the back of the angel ornament so that we have a hanger. Now if you do have one of these little resin pieces, you can find, I find these all the time. Hummingbirds and swallows and ducks, I find them all the time at the Goodwill store. If you have one and you want to take the screw off where it attaches to the wall, you can go ahead and do that. Mine wasn't on hand, so I left it. This is how she is going to look. What else do you think you could use on the back of this ornament for the same kind of look? The next ornament is going to be a topper ornament. Now I named it a topper because this is a candle topper. I have a variety here, and if you don't have these, this little blossom sign from Dollar Tree is exactly the same size. I'm going to use this one. If you're going to use it and it's been on a candle, get all the wax off, clean it up really good, both sides. I have a little piece of, this is scrapbook paper actually, and it's in a little pad. You can get these at Michael's and Hobby Lobby. I think you could get them at Target too. Mine was thrifted. I'm going to cut it out to the right size for the bigger diameter circle because this is going to be a two-sided ornament. I love to use my glue stick for these kind of projects. It dries quickly, it grips quickly, it's just easy to work with. Then I'm going to take my squeegee after I push it down with my hands and just work from the inside outward. Then we're going to flip it over, and on the back side I'm going to brush some of that gold on there, and putting this gold over the dark wood is going to make it almost look like a bronzed color, and I really like the way it turned out when it was dry. I'm going to take some gold ribbon and go right around the edge. It's a little bit thicker than the thickness of that part of the candle topper, but you know, it'll work. And if you are using one of those Dollar Tree pieces, little springtime ornaments, which they're in the garden section if I didn't mention that, you don't have to worry about that. You can just go around the entire outside edge with this if you would like. Any type of trim you want. I think the gold is good for Victorian, so that's why I used it. And this is a gold that's very similar to the gold paint that I've been using for my Victorian decorations, so I think it works well. Now I'm going to use an emery board here. Got mine at Dollar Tree. You can use a sanding block or a piece of sandpaper or a finger sander, and just go ahead and shear off the edges so you get a nice clean finished look. Then it will just peel away. Now this I got thrifting. I think maybe it was a candy box. Maybe? What do you think this was? I'm thinking maybe it had candy in it. I'm going to cut out the figure of the little girl. I think she is so precious. And I will use her on this side of the ornament. She's holding her dolly. She's got little bare feet. She's so cute. And I'm just going to add her down on this side. And I'm going to add greenery because you know I always do. And I love this piece. There's just some scraps that I've had left from my Christmas and winter decor from a couple of years. I always save that stuff in a bag, and it works great on these smaller projects. I'll hold it down in a hot glue. Then I'm going to use a shorter one right here so that we have like a semicircle on this side. And then we can use little beads or push pins or whatever you have as little ornaments here. If you have little crystals or little rhinestones, you could use those if you wanted to. But I think these little pearl beads work great. And I know that you can get pearl beads at the Dollar Tree in Crafter Square. So I have a little gold looking ball ornament. It was in a pick, a floral pick, and I'm just going to cut one side off so that I can glue this flat. And it won't be quite as thick. I don't want anything to overwhelm the piece. So I'm just going to glue that in the middle. And then I decided to add maybe just a few more of those little pearls. Now we're going to flip it over on the back side. This was also in a paper pack. I'm going to trim off a couple of these tags. One of them has sheet music on it, and the other one just has some Christmas verbiage on it. I will cut those out to the right dimensions, cut all the white off. If you want to put a little staple or something or a little tack in here, which I originally thought maybe I would do, you can use a stick or a piece of wire and make a hole in the center so you can go through both of them. But I just decided to not do it that way. For one reason, the candle lid was very, very hard. So I couldn't push a thumbtack through it. So I decided to just glue it down like this instead and then make it look as though it is tacked down. I want to put a little bend in my papers for a little dimension and interest. And I think it looks cute there. And since we had ornaments Well, since I had ornaments left over that were kind of old looking and the same sort of gold look, I thought they would look really good on here with the sheet music. So I'm just going to add the little harps and the violin to the ornament, just on the side there. I could have gone completely nuts, and y'all know, I know I've been accused of going overboard and just doing way too much before, but I don't think it's too much on here. I think it's interesting and it's different. I like it. So now it needs a hanger. I'm going to take another piece of the gold ribbon that we used to frame it out on the edges, and I'm just going to loop it over and make a little knot right in the end, and that is going to be our hanger. I'm trying to slide that knot down as far as I can, leaving a little bit of slack so that I have something to glue to the trim. I'm making sure that this is exactly opposite of the front so that nothing's crooked when it's hanging up on either side. Adding it with some hot glue, and then I'll add a little more hot glue so that I can put a bow on this side. I did it upside down, but it won't be upside down. So this is how it's going to look on the front. And then if you flip it over, this is how it will look on the back. The next ornament is a spool ornament. I do have some vintage spools, but I do not know where I put them at this particular moment because I have all my Christmas crafting supplies out. So take a spool, some paper cutouts, some rhinestones, some ribbons, whatever you have, and something that looks like a little Christmas tree. You can use the little bottle brush Christmas trees if you want to. I'm going to take a little of this satin ribbon from Dollar Tree, just get my measurements on there, and then I'm going to hot glue the center of it. I've seen lots of these little ornament trees on Pinterest, so if you're curious, maybe you don't like the way I did mine, or you want more ideas, then you can go to Pinterest and look that up. You can find my Pinterest board in the description box in case you want to go over there and look. Lots of good ideas over there for you. So now we got that glued down, and I'm going to take some of this red and gold and go upside down right over the top. Same process here. We're going to add a little bit of glue, but I want to add the glue only where the red is on that ribbon so that it doesn't squish out and make a big mess. I'm going to trim it down, make it nice and neat, and so this will be the base of our little Christmas tree and ornament. So on these picks from Dollar Tree, the ends of them have little, they look like little trees. So I thought that'd be a great idea for a tree, and I've used it in other decorations for my other Victorian decorations as well. So you just got some versatility from those fern picks. I'm taking two little signs, a little pick left over from, I believe, some florals that I had. I'm going to first glue down the stick in here. I'll roll it over into the glue. Then I'm going to add some more glue and glue them together. Now the way I cut these out was exactly how they were on the paper, but I have to trim the wider one down. That's easy enough to do. Could have done it in the beginning, but you can always do it after you have it glued together. So I pressed it down so that it kind of locked it in, and that stick's not going anywhere. And this is how it looks on both sides. I'll trim that off on the back of the other one so that they are the same size. Got a little Victorian lady there. These little beads, or whatever this is, sticker beads, I think they came from Dollar Tree. I know you can get something similar at Michael's or Dollar Tree, so just watch your sales, get your best discounts where you can, save you a little money when you can. And then just decided to put this one on the top and the other one is on the bottom. It's just a matter of preference. If you don't like the way I do it, all you have to do is change it up. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to give you ideas, and then you can make it your own. So far, this is how the spool is looking. I think it is very cute. I am going to add a chrysanthemum right on the top. And then I need to add a little something on the back, because if it rotates on the tree, which it may, we need to have it looking nice. So I'm going to make a little shepherd's hook here, which is also going to be the hanger. This is a copper looking piece of wire. I'm just going to bend over the top part of it. And then I'll take some table scatter from Dollar Tree, and I will add on some of these little styrofoam table scatter pieces. So I have a gold, a white, and a silver. And that's how it looks. Pretty simple. You can do it so many different ways. It will hang nicely from that little hook. The next ornament is going to be a card ornament. Recently on a live video with my friends Crafting Cousins and Annie from Indiana Jones Crafts, we made some ornaments, and so I wanted to duplicate sort of the ornament that I did so that you guys could see it and that you can make one of your own. So you can see the supplies so far that I've gathered together. I've got a card here. I'm just going to kind of press that center down and peel it apart. Now I have one. I'm going to use my glue stick, flip it over on top of my foam board, but you can use cardstock or something else if you want. It needs to be fairly thick though if you're going to put a trim or a border on it. You got to have something to glue to. I'm just going to place it down, press it down with my hands, and don't worry about that purple glue. It vanishes when it dries, so no worries about that. Doesn't make a mess at all. I'm going to press it down so it is nice and neat with no wrinkles, no bubbles, and so that it will look like we bought it this way. Now you're welcome to use scissors on cardstock, and it works pretty easy, but if you use something like this thick foam board, it's going to work better, in my opinion, if you use a utility knife. You got to be super careful. I don't use a wooden ruler here, I use only the metal. And keep your fingers out of the way as far as you can. I'm going to go around the edges, protecting my card until I get it all cut out, and now it is a solid piece, which allows us some room to add on some decorative trim. Now this trim is not a rope. Somebody told me that you don't use rope in Victorian decor, and this is not rope. This is a cord. So I'm going to use this green, red, and gold cord along the edges. I think it looks very rich and regal. And I'm going to use it all the way around to trim it out. It'll sit right down between the layers of paper, because right in between is like a styrofoam or something. And so it sits in there nicely. Once you get to the end, if you're using this type of cording, you can just twist it with your fingers to lock the layers together and press it down. That'll give you a nice little finish. Then, before we start the back side of this card, which is reversible, we're going to add some ribbon with some hot glue. Let it dry and cool. Then we're going to flip it back over and continue with the front side. I want to add some of these snowy picks. It's the same little snowy pick that we used for the other ornament. And I'm going to add it to the card because the cardinal here is sitting in a tree, in a pine tree with pine cones and lots of snow. So I thought it was appropriate. I'm also going to add some gold by clipping off pieces of that fern and putting it here and there. Can you see how making these ornaments can just really help you use up those scraps? I mean, I'm just picking apart pieces here and putting them together. Simple. It brings in the gold from the frame around the outside, and it looks great. So now you can take another piece of paper. I dropped my glue stick. I have no idea where it rolled, but it is gone. So I'm using some double stick tape. This will just give you an option of another way that you can do it if you don't have a glue stick, because not everybody keeps them on hand, but I have children in my house, so we always have them in hand. Then I'm going to press it down so that the adhesive from the tape is clinging on to that paper. And I think it looks nice. Looks sort of like a postcard. I have some more of these ornaments. These are gold, and I found these at the same time that I found the angels from my other Victorian video. I'm going to cut off the hangers and the little loops there on the top and decide where I want to put these cute little stockings. So these are going to be Santa's boogie shoes. Y'all remember that song? Yep. They're stockings, but these are Santa's boogie shoes. I'm going to put them on here, make them look like they're dancing or leaping in the air. Then I'll take some of this beautiful red trim. You see how easy it is to make that bow? So super simple. A little bit of red twine, and I'm going to put it around the middle because this red will kind of blend in. And you could leave it like this. You could leave the bow like this rather than having to cover up the center, unless you just want to, because I do end up covering the center of mine, just FYI. I'm going to pull down the tails and pull up, kind of fluff up the ears or the loops of the bow. I know now where I want to put it, and I'm just going to trim off my sides so that they don't overhang the outside. Adding a little glue, put it in the corner, and it's just a little bit of overhang there, and that is totally okay. Then I'm going to take this little gold button looking thingy and just glue it down on top. Now we have a two-sided ornament, and this is very similar to the one that I made in the live video. So now we are going to do a frame ornament. Now this one is vellum, and it is just glued to the back of an empty frame. That's all you have to do to it. I'm going to cut out some ribbon that's 18 inches, but if you don't have this type of frame, you're going to just alter your ribbon to what you are using. All we're going to be doing is making a bow on the front. This is pretty simple. If you don't have little holes in your frame, then you can take a, you can just glue it right to the front. Instead of attaching it by the little area here, you can just make your bow and just glue it right on the front. But since there was a space for it, I decided I would leave it there. I want to take just a moment to thank everyone who is subscribed to this channel. Watching, liking, commenting, sharing, all of those good things help show YouTube that I'm doing good work here and that people are enjoying the work that I'm doing. So I appreciate it when you do those things. If you're new to the channel, welcome. It's budget friendly all the way on this channel, and I am happy that you stopped by. So now we're going to trim the tails up here and get those out of the way a little bit. I'm going to take an angel ornament. This is just one of those paper cardboard type ornaments here. I'm going to cut the hanger off and place her where I want her, and then put just a little bit of that hot glue there. For your information, I am using Gorilla Glue on my projects, and I have been for a while now. Trying to put like the tiniest amount so I don't make a mess on this frame, and because I can use this frame again if I'm careful with it. Look at here. I can just bend that ribbon in the other direction by just gently pulling it against the back of my scissors. That's a good little trick. It doesn't work with all ribbon, but it did work on this one. So you can see through the back of the vellum, so when you put it next to the Christmas tree, you'll see the lights through it. We're going to make a hanger, and the way I did mine was just to feed it through where the bow was, then double it back on itself with just a tiny bit. I'm just barely smearing any glue on there so I don't burn myself. Then I'm going to twist it back under there, and then I'll add a little bit of glue to hold it in place. This is not heavy, by the way. This is not a heavy frame at all. I wanted to add just a little bit something else up here, but if I would have had the right type of a stone, I probably would have put some fake jewels or something there. But I think this is precious. She'd also look good if this was on a stand in front of a candle, I think. Here are the 5 ornaments that we did. Now these are strictly inspired. I'm showing you my ideas. These are not supposed to be authentic. These are not supposed to be true to the period or anything like that. We have a reversible card ornament, the frame ornament, the topper ornament, which is also reversible, the butterfly, and then we have the spool. So you're really kind of getting 7, because here's the back of one of them. I can't even decide which one of these are my favorite, but I think they're all really cute, and I think that they would look good on a Victorian tree. What do you think? Do you think these would be okay?